You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Tim Cyclesman Wood, the editor of Cycle News and Views on Cyclesman.com. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Hey, Jim. Good to have me. On the road, traveling on the cell phone. I hope we can do this.
Not a problem. Tim, everybody's asking, with the markets having some major downturns this week, is this the start of the big crash?
Jim, we're seeing, like I said, we're definitely seeing crash. And we just, we have to see what evolves from here with the remaining markers. But it is fragile. It is potentially on a slippery slope, and it's not good. Why
wouldn't it? Everybody's just saying this is probably going to be just a minor correction, maybe 10%, nothing to worry about. Is it something to worry about?
Well, let me say this. You'd asked me yesterday about housing, and what we've seen is this market has begun to thin this year. And back in the August research letter, I talked about housing construction, I think heavy construction, different sectors, and even if you look at small caps and some of the world indexes, when I say world indexes, world stock market indexes, and the Dow Jones World Index itself, we're starting to see and have been seeing deterioration. And like I said, even in the housing sector specifically, I have a chart of the Dow Jones Home Construction Index, and I have a chart of the, let me see, which one is the HDX, the Philadelphia Housing Index, which you'd asked me about to have with me for the interview. And, in the case of the HDX, it looks like it peaked out early this year, and we've seen deterioration since then. We need to see a little more confirmation, but it looks like housing is peaked. And then when you look at the Dow Jones Home Construction Index, it peaked out in 13. And so it looks like it's leading. So we're seeing major cracks. And, I think anything could happen here. Is there another gas up? Maybe, I don't know. Could it implode here? Absolutely. It's literally on the edge.
Now, we've always talked about with you, you're saying these cycles are natural. I know people love to attach reasons for markets going up or reasons for markets to go down. And now, of course, we're hearing, Ebola is a factor. The crisis in Ukraine is a factor. The fighting in Syria and ISIS, that's a factor. What really is the factor here?
The cycle and the setup. It's interesting. If you think about this, when you see the market respond to negative news, and the news may not be that negative, and you go, wow, why did that happen? That had a big impact on the market. Or you see the market go up and go up and go up, and it doesn't respond to negative news, and nothing seems to matter. Have you ever stopped to wonder why? Why is that? It's not the news. It's the setup. If the setup is positive, then the market's going to shrug off any bad news. If the setup is negative, then the market's not going to be able to withstand that news. And so it's all baked into cake with the statistics and the setup. And so that's what I'm saying here. We have something trying to materialize with the setup. And if it gets a toehold, it doesn't matter what happens. It's baked in the cake.
And what should people be doing to react to it?
Well, Jim, I don't like the market now at all. Everybody thinks they have to be in the market, have to be in. There's times when maybe the sidelines are safe. And personally, I think this is one of those times.
Wow. So just take your cash, sit back, and then buy the good stock when it's down at a low point.
Exactly. Watch the show at this point.
We'll have more with Tim Cyclesman Wood right after this.
More and more people are looking to the internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
Welcome back. We're speaking to Tim Cyclesman Wood. Tim, we've seen the equity markets start to take a slide. What's happening with commodities?
Well, Jim, back in the August research letter, I talk about a statistic with the setup. I say setup, the setup with commodities and the 3-year cycle. And there is a little statistic there that came to pass back in 2008 And I used that statistic / DNA marker to identify that top in oil, all the commodities across the board, and made the call that they would, I don't want to use the word implode, but that's basically what happened then, and that they would move below the previous 3-year cycle low at the CRB, as the CRB index as a whole. And like I said, when it's baked in the cake, that setup occurred, and then it's done. There's nothing that, it's just get out of the way and watch the show, because it's going to happen. And those statistics came to pass in 2008 and into 2009. Well, in the August letter, I came out with the very same statistics, and I said that same setup was in place. And look what has happened. Now we're seeing that. Crude oil, gasoline, I think, I can't remember now if it was soybeans, corn, wheat, all of them are back down virtually at the 09 lows. Crude oil and the deflation from that cycle, from that setup, is exerting itself on the market. And I see that coming potentially in equities as well. I think commodities are leading. So that's just one example of the setup and it being baked in the cake once the setup with the DNA markers are in place.
Tim, any final advice for people in situations like this?
Caution. You probably don't want to listen to the propaganda on the mainstream news, because it's just that. It's 90% of it's propaganda. And unless you know better, I just advise caution with listening to them. And if you want to educate yourself and find out what's really going on here and get some statistics and understand what is going on with the setup that I'm talking about, or the potential setup that I'm talking about with equities, it's trying. Get the letter. It's cheap. The research is there. Cyclesman.com.
Tim, thanks a lot for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim, and I apologize for being on the road. The echo is driving me crazy, but I wanted to do the interview, and I appreciate you having me on the road on a cell phone.
My guest has been Tim Cyclesman Wood, editor of Cycles News and Views. You can find it at Cycle News and Views on cyclesman.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. We're also up on YouTube. Comments about the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.